Hey everyone, this is João from Native. We're starting something new, something different. We're doing some weekly conversations about what's happening in the crypto markets right now, the SU ecosystem, the BTCFi, just exactly what we're seeing in the markets and seeing and thinking as well, kind of as builders. So we're not here to specifically talk about Native. We'll also be talking a little bit, but we're just sharing our perspective, how things are going on our side as well, and how things are going on the crypto market. So today we have Robert, Native CTO, and we're going to be chatting about what's happening right now in crypto, BTC5, SUI, stuff that we're paying attention. Robert, how are you doing? Let us know what's up.
Yeah, hi everyone. We decided to basically warm up the ecosystem around SUI, also have it more interactive in a way. What we build, all our thesis related to Bitcoin, to the market. There is a lot of opportunities that we've been discussing in the past year around native, around SUI. We want to share our enthusiasm. That's the goal. So thanks, João, for hosting this. And yes, looking forward for this episode and everything that will come next.
Yeah, we want to start with the crypto market state. This is kind of can be a tough conversation right now. There has been a big correction. What's your take on what happened? We're down, I think it was like 12% within a week. There was billions wiped from the market. There was a lot of just stuff that happened. So what are you seeing?
I mean, we always have to take a step back, right? Like what's happening in the world. We are now in a very unstable situation. So actually, a lot of capital was deleveraging, was have been removed from US stocks actually, yes, because there were looping strategies also related to Japan. I mean, those things take time, right? So there's like a first wave, there is a second wave. And we've been observing basically the general downturn in the market in January. And since crypto market, right, is way more volatile, and as a volatile asset, yes, that the magnitude of those changes are bigger. And this is actually multiplied by the fluidity of the market, right? You can easily, and on a global scale, 24/7, trade those assets, right, without any notice. So any change actually on the macro, yes, can create like a tsunami scale on crypto, right? Because there are so many bots, so much automation. Whenever the wave is detected, everything flows and the waves are basically getting bigger. Yeah, so actually the Bitcoin is corrected or went down, yes, hard to say, yes, in a couple of weeks from over 100,000 to 74,000.
74, yeah.
We have seen actually that not many people actually were expecting that it can cross below 80,000, because 2-3 weeks ago we've been seeing that some of the positive signals that Bitcoin will be here as that strong alternative asset, because in January we have seen a very strong growth of commodities like gold and silver, so strong commodities, and Bitcoin was following. But then in general, the uncertainty of the digital assets, the adoption, the big Wall Street taking those bets was not very certain, and people just didn't want to take that leverage. So we have seen that the market really went down a lot in the past 2 days. Yes, it was discovered that kind of the diamond's hands moved their Bitcoin and sold it, cashing out. So maybe we are preparing for bigger market changes.
Because you mentioned diamond hands, and I just wanted to touch on Michael Saylor, because yesterday he announced that Strategy acquired 855 Bitcoin again for about 75 million. So this was bought at 87 or almost 88,000 per Bitcoin. So what's your overall thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's not much. Yes, you need to understand that these guys are basically, buying Bitcoin for a long term. Yeah, so it's hard to really spot the what would be the minimum price. 800 Bitcoin for them, it's not a big amount, right? They own, if I'm not mistaken, yes, close to 100 billions, right? So
Yeah.
So this is not really a lot. I mean, what for Bitcoin, right? So it's not really a lot. That few hundred Bitcoins that they bought. Yeah, it's completely different, yeah, right? But what we need to see is, what's actually the sell pressure, sell barrier, both on the miners. The miners are not selling that much, yes, because they are not the mining rewards are not that big as there were, let's say, a couple of years ago. Yeah, so this market is now mainly in the hands of the big capital rather than the miners. Obviously, there are big whales that can move the market in the direction, because still, yes, we have a lot of Bitcoin that is highly concentrated, and any sell on that from these two people, right, can really make a big wave on the Bitcoin.
Yeah. So, but I also want to mention like the broader environment, not just the market state of crypto right now, but also the market state that's happening with gold and silver. We've seen, a massive surge in gold and silver, but with a very kind of downturn as well, which actually surprisingly set one of the worst days for silver since 1980. So what's happened there? Does that tie into the crypto market? Does that tie into, I guess, geopolitics? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So another thing that we need to understand from the economics perspective is how the capital moves, right? As I said before, yes, a lot of capital was located, international capital in US. Dollar was clearly underperforming. The Trump politics, yes, created a lot of uncertainty. Yes? So for many economists, for many bigger investors, they want to, deleverage their investments in US. So you have seen that big sale on the treasuries, and then you need to locate some of the capital. Yes? You just don't keep the cash. So a lot of the gold, yes, significantly went up. Silver went up, but it corrected a lot, mainly because it outperformed everything. Yeah, so people just talking about, okay, silver dumped, but you need to look at, a year ago, silver was worth $30, right? A week ago, silver was worth close to $120. So we are talking about 400%. I mean, the last time Bitcoin did 400% in the course of a year, yes, that was, I don't know, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, when Bitcoin was a much smaller asset. So doing 4x in the course of a year, it's huge, right? So it dumped from that highs of close to 120 to 80, down 30% down. It's a big correction, but we will see that it will recover a little bit. Not sure if it will go quickly up to that high of 120. It's hard to predict what this market will be doing. But gold is, because it's so much bigger, much stable. We have seen that steady growth. Like I said, yes, the dollars in general underperforming. A week ago, it was super low compared, for example, to euro. It's recovering a little bit. Yes, the situation between Europe and US is stabilizing, but we will yet to see how this will evolve. That's why I think that the situation in the global market is so not stable, especially with the US, with this big capital being located there. Now there will be floating, right? So we will see this price movements. I think, yes, some of them will be located to Bitcoin now that it's so cheap. It can still go down by maybe 10%, why not? But people will be thinking, yes, what would be like the good? I mean, how to diversify it, right? So gold might go up again. Some currencies, other currencies, yes, which have a more safe economy, can go up. There is a couple of months of side turns, right, in front of us.
So everything that we talked about right now, Bitcoin correction, the liquidations that we have, the markets, the gold and silver, there's also the fact that it seems like there's an institutional flow reversing with a lot of outflows from crypto products. This kind of raises the question if institutions are actually backing away, and because of all of this, do you think that this is a healthy correction, or do you think this is actually the start of something worse, like a bear market? Let's call it.
Yeah, so definitely we are not in the bull market, right? That's very clear. Yes, so I think we are in this case today. Yes, we are in a market where it's like look. I mean, you can say you can call it a bear market, yes, because now it's like looking for what's next. Yeah, it's not really certain, yes, how this will evolve. Like I said, yes, notably, yes, there are still a lot of uncertainty about in the commodities. The situation in Iran is very bad. The situation with Venezuela, yes, we will see how that will shift the global prices for the oil. I don't expect any bulls coming up in the next months, right? So we will. I don't think this is a correction, right? This is basically the capital movement. I mean, you can say that the capital movement is a kind of a correction, right, in general terms. But the assets which basically are highly speculative are the liquidity from those assets are taken out, being located to more stable places, and then slowly this capital will be rebuilt on the speculative assets as Bitcoin.
That's good insights for everyone here. But I want to zoom into Sui right now. Obviously, we're building on Sui, but as we've been seeing, the alt layer one landscape it's beginning to be crowded, right? Sui TVL had a massive growth, but where do you see Sui position right now in the market? And do you think we also had, this is kind of two questions in one, but we also had a network style within Sui. So how serious was it for you? Did it impact the ecosystem in native? So give us your overall thoughts.
Yeah, so we are very kind of a Sui maxi, right? We really like Sui, but objectively speaking, we can say that Sui is underperforming on the market side because we don't see many new launches. We don't see much of the business happening. But we need to also distill what's happening, let's say, in a crypto Twitter or in a community from what's happening behind the scenes. Yes, and as we are talking with many decision makers, we can truly see that actually there is a bigger business coming. I mean, being in works. The Sui team, the Neston team, they're very, very smart people. Yes, they're preparing for a long play, not for a short play, right? Just spilling out the capital for the communities to build and not necessarily stay. It's nonsense. Yeah. So what people are talking about? Oh yeah, there is no money for builders, but there is a lot of opportunities actually. Yes, like a lot of if you see what's happening with any other ecosystem. No, we can talk about Cosmos. We can talk about Polkadot. We can talk about ZK Sync, Polygon. So much money was spent, yes, for attracting builders. How many of them stayed? How many of them actually performed? I would say less than 1%. Yes. So is this the smart way to put the capital, or rather, like really building up the business to prepare for something bigger? And I'm talking here about institutions. I'm talking here about a bigger adoption, because this creates a sustainable growth, right? Just filling up the capital for small startups or just projects or tooling. We have seen every year in every single ecosystem that this is not sustainable. So so Sui is preparing, working for the bigger game. Obviously, it's still there's still work to do on the business, on the market, yes, to compete with big guys like Solana or in general Ethereum ecosystem. We're still very much behind, but I think we are very well positioned to compete in that market. So Sui is one of the fastest in terms of the infrastructure of the tech, is the fastest growing ecosystem by far. Yes, we don't see the updates, the speed of updates that actually work for the long term, for adoption with the bigger tech, with the bigger companies. There is a lot to do, yes, because the tech is built for purpose. It's not like in a copy paste of the existing SDK. It's really out competing what we have out there. This week there was a release of a new database. Storage layers in blockchains, they were a subject of many discussions. I was architecting new updates for Cosmos storage over 5 years ago, and even today it's not still fully released. Yes, because there was no good team actually to implement it. We're going back and forth for 2-3 years to who will be implementing it, but because the ecosystem was so decentralized and really underperforming, it didn't happen. Sui just did it. Solana actually is working in a similar fashion, right? Just taking the things in the business in their own hands and delivering. But obviously, Solana has a head start, much bigger ecosystem, way more builders now, companies doing it, and Sui is catching up. But I think they are in terms of the tech, they are really outcompeting here. And long term, I really believe because of the tech, because of the business that we don't see, the bigger business that Sui is preparing. I think yes, we are well positioned for the future growth. We won't see that in the next weeks or in the next few months, but over a course of a year, this will be more clear.
Yeah, you talked about the performance versus Solana. This is an ongoing conversation within the socials and within the crypto markets. So I guess from your perspective, does kind of the consensus that we have right now with Mysticeti and the launch of V2 as well, does this actually matter for the end user, the finality, all of this? Does that matter for you?
Oh, it does, absolutely, right? We need to see that what is the adoption, what is the product market fit that we use blockchain with. Obviously DeFi. Yeah. So now since last year, the biggest subject is payments. Yes, we want to have fast, fluent payments, fast settlement, being able to process millions of transactions, right? And having a really robust consensus is a strong requirement for that, right? You need to be able to process transactions in parallel very, very, very fast. And that was like the whole promise of Mysticeti that was finally delivered in the second release, or in the second phase of the Mysticeti release last year, right? There was a lot of heavy engineering. So yes, as we said, the Sui network stalled. We could say that it's an outcome of that, quick release cycles. Yes, we have a new release every 2 weeks on the mainnet. Every 2-3 weeks there's a 2-3 weeks there's a new mainnet release. It's super fast. Yeah, like how many things are being delivered. This will stagnate, yes, with this adoption, but now we are really pushing to create something the best. Did it impact the soul of the network, the ecosystem? I don't think so, right? Because we are still in that growth phase, early adoption phase. It impacted a little bit about the general comments, but those things are outdated. People don't remember it in a month. So far, the team is very, very professional. Yes, handling our case in a very duly manner. So I'm actually, for me, it looks positive. Yes, it's basically strength makes the whole ecosystem stronger, especially from the infrastructure perspective. I mean, it's not good that the network stalls, but giving the where we are, I would say, okay, it's better to have a very fast and rapid improvements at this stage and really outcompete others at the cost of that small network stall. If it happens, obviously, once a year. And then go to that stabilization phase to slow a bit and make sure that everything works correctly.
While you were talking about this, I remember that recently on Twitter we saw some back and forth, some people comparing Sui to the likes of Cosmos and Polkadot, and I know that you have an opinion about that. What do you think are actually Sui's weaknesses right now? Where do they need to catch up? And if Sui is really ready for the end user or for the real users, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, like being able to create. So I was creating tons of applications for Ethereum, for Cosmos, with Near, and even Algorand a bit. I think Sui has an edge. I really like the tech that Sui provides to provide a really good user experience, right? We can easily use the data. It's very, very smooth. Yes, if you use any Sui app, you just feel you really feel it, that how good it is. Just use the Sui app. I mean, Solana is good as well, but just if you compare Sui app, for example, to Near or to Cosmos, right? The wallet, actually, in many cases, you don't even need a wallet. Yes, you can use your Google login, right? But everything is there, everything is ready. And when I'm using it, I often feel way more comfortable, right, than using an Ethereum application, to be honest. Yes, the wallet is faster, much better than MetaMask, in my opinion. And there is a lot of new updates that will come on the wallet side this year. So I'm super excited about it. On the other hand, so we require builders just to use Move. Move is a niche language, a new one. There is obviously a barrier, for everyone to learn it. It's also, a problem for AI. The AI is not well trained on Move as it is on, let's say, Solana on Solidity or Rust. Yes, you have tons of materials for Rust, way less on with Solidity. But Move is just tiny compared to what we have with Rust. Today, I think this is a barrier, but for a good developer, for a senior developer, for someone who likes the tech, who is a geek, who wants to do something smart, I think it also opens new opportunities because the design of the language is much better than Solidity. And once you learn it, you can learn it in 2-3 days. You will see that it's experience of building something with Move is much, much, much better than with Solidity. But yes, obviously you need to invest your time. Today, unfortunately, it's hard to get, to fight for the attention and, learn something, like focus on learning rather than being distracted all over and in any time. If you ask about the developer experience of SUI, yes, it is a problem, but I think it will be less and less of the problem as we advance with an AI. And also, you don't need to have millions of developers, yes, because there will be tools that those developers will use. We need to have a good base of developers that will create this big applications, solid applications, as we see, let's say with the Bluefin. We don't need millions of small applications that will die tomorrow. Yes, we really need outperforming applications. Those applications have a smart teams, and for the smart people, this is not a problem. But they need like the general ecosystem, and that's a kind of a second subject to talk about. But I think we can talk about how we can attract that ecosystem maybe next week.
Yeah, exactly. And I also, you touched on something that's interesting, which is the AI is not really ready for SUI Move, and it kind of doesn't help developers. But recently, I saw one prominent kind of Twitter user on the SUI ecosystem that created this SUI Move skill for basically any agentic AI to use. And that skill is trained and drawing on the knowledge from the Mysten Labs repositories and Move Bibles. So I think that we're getting close there. There's not enough training out there, but I think we're getting close, and I think very soon we'll be able to use this.
It's not the same actually, right? I was trying to do something similar in early December, so 2 months ago, dumping or archiving all the SUI specification and a reference book to Markdown, and then providing it as an instructions for the agent, right? I mean, it's a lot of data actually, because now the agent is not trained, so we need to treat all this data as an input, so you need to pay for it. It may get lost a little bit in terms of what it has to do and what it has to learn. And another thing is that every time you start a new session, you actually start over, right? So unless you really distill your model and train it with that data, ask your agent to learn it, and then depending what agent do you use, how good are they in that post-training knowledge acquisition, let's say.
Yeah, I think this is a great topic for us to touch on. Maybe on the next episode, there's a lot of talk about agentic AI, and maybe within a couple of months, this will be advanced already for so everyone can kind of work on that. I'd like to pass on to kind of the final segment, which is the native updates. I think everyone's kind of waiting to hear a little bit more of what we've been building on the back end. So tell us, Robert, what are we working on right now? What can we tell our ecosystem and our listeners?
Yeah, so actually we've been preparing for a long time for the testnet v3. I know it's overdue. It's a long-term overdue. Yes, we shared a bigger update. We will put it on a podcast notes. The end of the year updates, and I will wrote with a testnet v3 why it's so complex. And we believe that just releasing a next app or launching a mainnet, if it's not fully ready, today, yes, won't get adoption. It will be just open. It will open for a speculation rather for the users, and we want to make sure that users can do it. Yes, we are a user-based application and institutional-based application, right? But we are not coming from the institutional background. I mean, I have institutional background, yes, but we don't have the lights like Franklin Templeton behind us to drive the capital. So there is a bottom-up approach how we can actually make it working, and we don't want to just create a looping strategies that will attract early adopters, and then those early adopters they will move capital, because this is how it works in most of the crypto projects, and that's why you see actually that the alt season never happened last year, right? Because the looping strategies are temporarily not sustainable in crypto as they are today. In capital markets, they're way more. They're working actually, right? Because there are stocks involved, there are real world assets, right? If you try to loop only around the speculation, and then this is a dead end. So we want to take the Bitcoin out of that speculation mode. We want to make sure that it can be used in a good financial flows, and be as simple as easy as possible. And for that, we have to build actually many indexers, and we've been discussing that in our updates. That would be great if you can have a look at. Another thing that we built and released actually last week was the SDK. So for anyone who wants to interact with BTC and our smart contract, we have a TypeScript SDK for you that you can actually use already today, right? That will allow you to automate the interactions between Bitcoin and Sui, notably for minting and redemption, and build your own agent actually, yes, to move the capital from Bitcoin to Sui and back. So that's super cool. We released the article, will be in the show notes as well. What we are working on right now, still indexers. We are working on finalizing tracking the broadcasting. We'll talk more about it next week, because we are already preparing an article of that final update that will lead us basically to the public testnet v3 release.
Great, thank you for the insight. I think everyone will appreciate that. So I guess tell us a little bit more on the preparations, because I believe that we started preparation for the mainnet. This is something ongoing as well. Mm-hmm. But we have, and you have, and the engineering team have been working on these sprints, and they're preparing something that's very necessary, prepared to handle compliance. So geo-blocking sanctions. So tell us first, why are we doing this, and why is this important for kind of native?
Yeah, again, we are playing here a long-term game, right? We don't want to basically release something that doesn't comply with the world regulations. Yes, we want to make the application that works in a way the world expects, not in the way the crypto expects, but in the way the world expects, right? We want to really avoid the bigger problems that may come, and want to anticipate that. So unfortunately, yes, fortunately, unfortunately, obviously, we don't want to sponsor the terrorists. We don't want that our system, or in general, yes, user money might be used by malicious people, right? So there are sanctions, countries, regions, yes, that are under the sanctions, and individuals, wallets, or organizations that have been marked institutions or individuals that are bad doing. We need to block them, and to comply with that, we've been planning actually for a while those tasks, but started actually handling it in the last sprint. We'll be testing it, and so if you are in the country, unfortunately, yes, we may not be able to serve you. That doesn't allow. It's either sanctioned or doesn't allow your users to use crypto.
I think this should be kind of the way that projects should follow. We've seen multiple projects that brush mainnet, and then they have to deal with these issues. So I think we're taking the time to build it right. Proper compliance, the proper security, and proper user experience as well, which is very, very important. So I think the market will be there when we're kind of ready. So I guess to finalize, what does this mean for the mainnet timeline?
So for sure, we're getting closer. I mean, like I said, we are overdue, both with the testnet and obviously then with the mainnet. But it's already signals that it's much closer than actually further. With the full testnet V3 release, we will have the final end-to-end user-friendly system working on. That we plan to test very, very soon. So stay tuned. We have weekly updates for you, both with this series of podcasts, but also with our Twitter tweet.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. So that's it for the first episode. We'll keep shipping these. Next week we want to be talking about other narratives. There's the AI agents, there's BTC5 that we want to talk about, and how all of this can also be built into Sui.
Yeah, and obviously we want to also talk about the Sui ecosystem, as how we can power it, how actually interesting it is for the users, for the business. Yes, we basically highlighted the foundations. That's what we have, but there's a lot of things that is coming up, right? Not only on this core tech, like today I mentioned about the database, for example, or we talked a little bit about the consensus. Yes, so obviously Mysticeti and Sui on the consensus side is really like the state of the art. Everything is far behind. We touched the base about the move, right? Like, is it a problem? It's not a problem, right? But actually, what other tools, the higher level tools the developer can get that benefits the users. This is something that we also want to talk in this series. And we as native, how do we leverage it, and how this attracts the products, right? The new businesses.
100%.
So yeah, looking forward for that.
Yeah, so if you want to follow along, we're publishing this weekly. There's going to be on YouTube, on Spotify. Links will be available in the description, and also we'll be publishing some kind of clips on Twitter throughout the week, so you can see kind of the highlights. So again, thanks for listening, Robert. Thank you for all the insights.
Yeah, have a good week, everyone. See you next week.